Okay, hi everybody. I'm going to try to, I just want to make sure if anyone has a burning question. Oh, 100% nope. It's already done. Okay, good. All right. Well, great. It's good being with you here tonight. Gosh, I had my big weekend, my first all-day seminar, which is great to have it done. Although I was stressed out hugely preparing for it. It's just it was a bigger leap than I'd done before, but a whole lot of fun. And one of the things that I'm going to do tonight is take one of the examples that I used for this weekend on Sunday, and just go over it because I found it out of the archives and said, hey, this would be a good example that I don't think I've really gone through in detail with my members. So tonight, what I'm going to do is go over a transaction that I did in Bakersfield. So here's this. I just want this. Okay, so this was a property. Now let me find. This is a really fancy purchase agreement. Okay. This was a lady that lives up in Bakersfield, and when I met her, so you can see, I hope you can see, I mean, this is really how easy it can be. It's one page handwritten contract to buy property. What had happened is this lady had sold my company when I was working with an investment firm from 2005 through 2007. We bought a duplex from her, all cash, in Bakersfield, and then when she wanted to sell another house, she came to me directly, and that's when was going out on my own that year anyway as a real estate broker and creating my whole Note Queen brand. And she said, I just want to sell it to you, and honey, I'm not going to pay those capital gains like I did last year, so I am not going to take all cash for this property. So I hope you don't have to pay me all cash. And I and I said, oh my gosh, I think we can work that out. As a matter of fact, I didn't really have. And then here's the terms of the sales price to be $100,000. So what happened is in Bakersfield, I'm sure you guys know that in particular, the neighborhoods and values can swing wildly in little pockets. And I really, being from LA, I wasn't exactly sure what the property was worth. And so what I did is an hour before she and I were supposed to meet at the house for negotiation, I had printed out a bunch of comparables, and I just like walked the neighborhood looking at the comparables for like an hour to get a sense for, what was happening right around the neighborhood. And so basically the bones were good in the house. I mean, from what I could tell, and I'm not a contractor, so I guess I'm kind of lucky that there was no bad surprises. It needed a lot of help, but so I said, tell you what, Lila, I can pay you $100,000. And I don't know if you can see this, but I said my cash down payment is 5,000. That'll keep your capital gains really, really low. And so she was fine with that. Buyer to take property subject to the first lien. She had a bank loan of 14,000, she thought, but she ended up not. Well, I'll show you that in a second. Seller to carry a second deed of trust for approximately 81,000, which is, now let me get my calculator up here. Now, I don't know if you guys are working on a handheld or not. If you want me to use the app version, I will, but just in case you guys have your handhelds out, I'm going to use the handheld version. Okay, so here we have a $100,000 purchase price minus my $5,000 down payment, 5%, right? And then she thought she had a $14,000 first, so we subtract that out. So that's how I came up with the 81,000 second deed of trust. She said she would carry at 5% interest, amortized over 30 years, due in 10, because she's older, and she says, I need the income, but I want my money back sometime before I die. So we made a long amortization with a balloon payment in 10 years. She agreed. This was her idea. That she would fix the main plumbing line that she knew had broken between the front door, front of the property and the street, and remove all the debris that was there. A lot of it was hers and her prior tenant. Normal thing, seller and buyer will each pay their own escrow fees, escrow to close in 30 days. She signed it, I signed it, voila, you have a purchase agreement. And you guys know how complicated the car forms are, right? I think 8 pages is the smallest, the shortest you can get away with. So anyway, so that's stage one. Then the escrow instructions, where is it? But what happened is we found out that me too, Lila. We found out that the bank loan was only $4,000, not 14,000. So this is what she decided to do instead. Um, she was just going to pay it off. She had other savings, so she paid off the $4,000 so that she was in first position for this 95,000 that I owed her, right? So well, so the 100,000 minus the 5,000 that I owed her, and there's our 95,000. That's right here, right? Principal value. And she agreed to carry at, if you can see right here. I wonder if this is still big enough for you guys. Try to make it bigger. See, she carried at 5%. So let's put the 5 in here. And remember, she amortized over 30 years for me. So 30 times 12, it's 360 months. So there's our number of payments. And the future value, even though we know there's a 10-year balloon, but for purposes of calculating the payment, I'm going to make sure it's fully amortized. So 0 future value. And then I'm going to press this payment to come up with the payment, right? So she was asking, she thought it was worth 125, but after walking the neighborhood, I wasn't comfortable with that. So the asking price was 100. The down payment was 5,000, and the first note and deed of trust was 95,000. The interest was 5%, and the monthly payment, oops, we should do the term, 360. And so the payment was what we say, 509.98. Okay, and then it's due in 120, and at that point, there'll be a significant balloon due on the property. But in the meantime, I have a really low payment. I mean, by the way, isn't this like amazing financing for a non-owner occupied investor? 5% down, 5% interest, amortized over 30 years. Pretty nice. And it would rent for I think about maybe 850, 900, 950, somewhere in there. So you can see that I would have positive cash flow from a rental after I fixed it up a bit. But as it was, I didn't end up wanting a rental that was that far away from me. That's a little over a 2-hour drive for me, and I just didn't want the rental. But I want to go back really quick, and I know our time's speeding by fast, but I want to start introducing you guys to the variety of notes that are out there. And if there's a note checklist that is on the site, and I don't know if you have it, but I'm going to start all the forms that I assembled for my class this last weekend. I'm going to put up as downloads for you guys on the site, so that at least you have some of them, and editable forms and just examples of things, so that can be a form of reference for you. But some of the main things that we look for in a note. Notes, they come in all shapes and sizes when you're buying private paper. Like, if it's hard money loans or bank loans, they're all pretty standardized. But wow, when you get private notes, there's some real doozies. Like they're missing like all the important things, or they're like one paragraph, or I don't know, kind of crazy. But this one actually was generated by my escrow company. And I want you to see because at that point in 2007, I wasn't generating my own note documents. I hadn't really kind of become my full note queen self as what I'm now doing. And so I just had this escrow company that we've always been working with do it. And I want to show you, even as much as I love them and continue to work with them and endorse them highly, here's why you always have to know to look over your own documents. Okay, now you're going to have the note amount goes up in this typically left upper corner, the place, the city and state where the note was formed, and it'd be so cool if I had like something like this, wouldn't it? Some sort of pencil tool. That'd be fun. Pencil tool. So we have right here the note amount, the place where the note was created. That was where my escrow company was, and the date of the note. Now this should be the same date as the deed of trust. The note and the security instrument should have the same date because they're referenced together. When you get the security instrument, it will say the note of even date, and so on and so forth. This does not mean the date of closing or the date interest starts necessarily, but it's the date that the note and security instrument were put together, and they should be the same. In installments, as here stated, for value received. Okay, that's important. I promise to pay. Good. And I actually should probably have blacked these out, but here's her name, who the beneficiary is, and the address. Okay, good. Everything's good so far. The address where we send the money, and it's also standard and proper for this note amount to be stated again in the body of the note and printed out with words, right? $95,000. Now with interest, here we go, with interest from, because I could have asked her not to charge me interest for 3 months. So, or we could have had interest start accruing before we even closed. Okay, so this is usually the day that you close, but not always. Okay, so there's the date that interest starts on the unpaid principal at the rate of, here's the annual rate, percent per annum, 5%. Principal and interest payable in monthly installments of, and it's printed out and it's also in number form. Okay, and the date that the first payment is due. And what does this or more mean right here? You guys know? Or more implies you can prepay. You can pay more than this amount without penalty, even though we probably say no prepayment down here anyway, again, but the or more implies that there's no prepayment on extra principal. First day of each and every calendar month beginning on July 1st. Here's the date of my first payment, and then there should be the maturity date. Here's my drop dead date, continuing until, right? She said that in 120 months, she wanted her balance. So there you can see that from July 1st to June 1st of 2017 is 10 years. Okay, so there's the maturity date for her. On date set above, which is June 1st, 2017, all unpaid principal balance and any accrued interest shall be due and payable immediately. Okay? Then the little clauses we put in there. I know a few more tricks now than I did back then, but sometimes the best way to learn is kind of stumbling your way through it and making some mistakes and things like that, which you'll see here in a minute. Let's see, anything herein. This is the due on sale part. In the event of a voluntary sale, transfer, or conveyance of all or any portion of the property described herein, any indebtedness or obligation, blah, 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 at the option of the holder immediately become due and payable. This is her due on sale if I ever sell the property. And if I was thinking, I would have, because I'm the buyer on the property and I want maximum flexibility, I would have had, she didn't ask for it. This was just something that my escrow put in. I would have said, don't put that in. I don't want to due on sale. If I want to flip the property and leverage the existing financing, I want that ability without any legal problems. In the event that any payment is not received, okay, here's our grace period, 10 days. Here's my late charge, 5% of the monthly installment. Okay, there's specifically no prepayment penalty, but it's implied by this or more statement up here. Okay, so basically there I signed it. It's not notarized. Notes aren't notarized. They're just signed. And then the note holder, the beneficiary, needs to keep in their possession. Ms. Lila needs to have the original note in her possession. Any questions so far? Okay, great. All right, so that was that note, and don't save. And now I want to show you did I show you the deed? Do I have the deed? No, no. I think this is the deed. Okay, remember that we were talking that this is the deed of trust that went with that, and I'm just going to point out a couple things real quick. This deed of trust made, if you remember, May 7th was the date of the note. Remember, in the right upper hand, so that's good. Same date. This is who I am. Unfortunately, I was dumb in those days, and I took title in my own name. I would never, ever do that again. It's always going to be a land trust first, and with probably my corporation as a beneficiary. You know, she's the beneficiary here, and power of sale, they always put the legal description right here, common address, and this is where they put, you know, the amount of the note right here. It's got to be down in there. Payment of the indebtedness evidence by one promissory note of even date. Okay, that's why it's important legally. Okay. And I'm not an attorney, but just so you know, just things to look for. All right. So then, but what happened is I didn't want a rental that far away, which is what I said. And so I said, look, I'm going to flip this to somebody else who wants to live there. So this is what we did. Even before I closed on this, I advertised in the paper, owner will carry I think I advertised for 125,000, you know, 20% down, whatever. I'm going to be up at the property on this certain day between, you know, I think I gave it a 3-hour window. Come, you know, make an appointment with me. And I had several phone calls, but I only had 2 people actually show up and meet me there. But it was in the first hour that I was there at the property, and I really liked this lady and her daughter. The lady didn't speak English. She's a nice Hispanic lady, and she wanted to live there because her daughter lived a few blocks away, and she would be she had, you know, a decent amount of money in the bank, but it would be hard for her to qualify for a regular loan. I'm pretty sure she had a social security number, but she wouldn't be able to qualify for the great loans that were out there. So and I liked it. There was another guy who was an investor, and he actually offered me a little bit more. But to me, selling to someone who wanted to live there. Come on, the nice older lady that wanted to be there to be next to her grandkids. Okay, now. And she didn't have an option. You know, she couldn't go out and get a loan or hard money and things like that. So to me, in the spirit of local and community sustainability, I said, this is what I want to do. This is a feel-good deal to me, and it works really well. So she Jewed me down $3,000 to $122,000. She trotted me over to the bank and cut, not to me, but to Jade Escrow, check for $20,000. That was her down payment. So obviously what we had is clear all. So 122 minus her 20,000 down payment equals 102,000. Okay, and we agreed I would carry for her at 7.5. Now, historically speaking, that's low. And it's decent for someone who can't get a bank loan, right? But it's obviously higher than what I paid. I mimicked the same terms that I had, right? With the other. I had to mimic it because I'm wrapping underlying financing. So 360 due in 120, and so let's get our amortization going here. 0 on the future value, because even though I know I have a balloon, I need to pretend like it's fully amortized to figure the payment. So let's figure the payment. Oops. I probably didn't put everything. 102, 7.5. This should have 360. This should be 0. Okay, so the monthly payment that she owed me was $713.20. Okay, well, great. So that's, and then let's go and see what the note looked like. Purchased. I mean, and here's how fancy I got with her purchase contract, right? Just as fancy, 1 page, all those things. Balloon payment due in 10 years of all unpaid principal and interest. I put that really clearly, as is condition, you know, blah, blah, blah. That was our purchase agreement. Where's the note? Here's the note. And again, I had escrow draw this up for me, but here's why you will see. I want you guys to tell me. You tell me what's missing as we're going through, okay? Oops. Where's my little pencil tool again? Okay. We have 102 over here. That looks good. We have Alhambra, California over here. And here's the date that the note document was created. And remember, that should match the security instrument, right? In installments, promise to pay Don Rickabaugh. Should never ever hold title in your own name. That is just dumb. Okay, at a place, blah, blah, blah. With interest from, and see, I didn't have her charged interest till the middle of the month. I actually think I gave her a week with no interest. I think we closed earlier. Can't remember for sure, but I think we closed a week earlier than this. But I said the interest won't start for then. That was just a concession. Point of negotiation. Here's 7.5 interest. Oh, and look, see, this here is printed out here in the body of the note, which is good. Here, look, they got really sloppy on this one. How come they didn't write out the payment there? You know, they should have wrote it out. $713.20, right? They didn't do that. I didn't even notice that actually till right this second. On the 15th of every month, beginning on, here's the date of my first payment that she owes me, and continuing until said principal and interest have been paid. Okay, each installment is implied first to interest, blah, blah, blah. It's saying this includes the unpaid principal balance on the promissory notes, the underlying, right? Because this is wrapping the other note. So what they're doing is making sure that everybody knows that there's a $95,000 first that's wrapped here, okay? And this is when it was recorded, blah, 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 okay? So I have the other things. Where's my due on sale? Look. Now I'm sure it's in the security instrument, but remember last time when I bought it, they put it in automatically, my due on sale clause. They didn't put that clause in here. Let's see, here we have my grace period and my late fee. Okay, just mimic. These are pretty standard. Usually you have things that are just standard in the state. With interest from blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I guess that must be when we closed, June 6th. I can't remember. Yeah, maybe they just prorated the interest. Okay, but what's missing here? What is missing here, you guys? Big, big, big. Where the actually, no, that's not, John, good guess though. That's more important for the security instrument, where they have the legal description in there. It doesn't really need to be that way. This is huge, guys. What's missing? I have underlying financing with right? Remember? Doing 20. You guys remember this one? Oops, not that. I'm trying to open that other one again. Where's the maturity date, right? And continuing until this. Now, they didn't put in that it's a balloon payment, but doesn't this imply that there's a balloon sooner than the fully amortized payments? Okay, that's what I owe my lady. I'm going to owe her her balance in 2017. Where is it here? Oh, my freak. There is nothing here. They forgot to put in the balloon for me that we agreed to. So technically, she does not have to pay. I don't know what just happened with that. She does not have to pay me the balloon. The way that escrow put this together with the person I sold the property to is fully amortized. So when that 10-year balloon comes due that I owe the underlying gal over here, I'm going to have to come up with that from some other place, right? I mean, that's potentially the thing that happened there. And why I would not notice that or take great care in looking at that, like I said, all you got to do is make some mistakes just one time, and that pretty much cures you right there. So I'm just saying that even the most skilled and seasoned escrow and title and even attorneys, they can make critical errors in the note. I'll show you how that turned out in a second, though, just in case you're worried for me. But I was like, you got to be kidding me. When I noticed that, I said, really? Because that was in our purchase agreement, right? It was all over the purchase agreement. Escrow forgot to put it in my note, and I didn't catch it before we closed. Huge, huge mistake. Okay, so anyway, just letting you know. So basically, how this worked out, you can see that. So I put out $5,000, right, to close, but I got $20,000 back. So my net profit within 2 weeks was $15,000. I just put it in my pocket. And then my monthly cash flow is I owed Ms. Lila, I think something like this amount. And the lady owed me this. So what's my difference there? My passive is what, $212? Something like $212. So basically I did have some closing costs, so let's take $1,500 out of this. So, but still, I got paid $13,000 or $14,000 to create several years worth of $212 passive income with none of my own money. All my money got paid back to me plus some, and I just created passive income, and I don't have to worry about maintenance and property taxes, insurance, repairs. That's just not my problem. And so that was something that worked out really well. But, I'm just kind of showing you how these deals can work. This is another way where, like, you don't have to buy a note to get passive income. Obviously, you can buy property. If I would have kept it as a rental, that would have been passive income. But I did this where I bought with owner financing and then wrapped with owner financing, and I'm paying on a note, and I'm also collecting on a note. So this is a way for me to get passive income just on flipping property that has good terms on it. And here's just the final story to let you know, how it ended up working out, how I solved that problem with the balloon. As it turns out, after 2007, about 2000, was this 9? I wonder when we did this. 2009. Yep. So about 2.5 years later, after 2.5 years of getting that $212 passive income, I'd get in the 713 and I'd pay out the 509. And then she said, the property is only worth about 65 or 70,000, and we want you to do a loan modification. Now, even though they could still afford this very easily, and what did, one of my main concerns is that even though I know that they're likely not going to default or quit paying because they put down what? Such nice hard equity. So there's a lot of they have a lot of skin in the game at this point. But I really wanted to be fair, and above all else, I wanted them to keep paying because I'm very concerned about the lady that I bought the property from. This is her retirement. She trusted me and counted on me to keep everything, straight. And so that was my main concern. So what I did is make sure that there's no excuse that this lady would quit paying on her $102,000 note, even though the property was probably only worth 70,000 now. Everything tanked in that area, especially right then, right? So now this is upside down. I want her to keep paying. And so here's what we did. I reduced the principal balance by, this is a loan modification I did for her, by 7,000. So that's basically my principal that I was in. So I dropped her down to 95, which is what I owed. So, and I got out of the middle. I did charge her $2,000 to do this, so I put another $2,000 in my pocket, and everyone's still happy. But basically, I'm just covering the existing note. I reduced her interest rate down to what I had, which is 5%. And the monthly installment, I dropped it down to 510, which is just covering what I was paying the other gal. And here's how I redeemed myself. Because they wanted this modification, here's where we put in the balloon payment that was supposed to be there but wasn't. And so, let's see. Parties agree the unpaid balance on this note as of this time is this much, 92,000, and that the balloon payment due on 5/15/17 will be 79, blah blah blah. So that's how I worked back in the balloon payment that was supposed to be there all along. Okay, so anyway, that's just sort of a little case study about a real live note and things that that I did right and things that I did wrong. So anyway, just sometimes you learn by those things the most. So anyway, any other questions, comments? I know we went a little bit over tonight, but do you want to say anything? Anything going on from anyone else that we can talk about? Okay, well, thanks so much for showing up. I appreciate you all. Hey, just so you know, if you're in the LA area, I'm doing basically a happy hour in the Queendom. We're going to get together somewhere local in the LA area just to hang out for a bit on, let's see, November 9th. So I'm going to send out a little reminder, but just so you know, save the date, November 9th, if you're in the LA area and you want to come by, and we're going to start having 3 in-person meetings of our community per year. So anyway, thanks a lot. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you around. Take care. Bye-bye.